So the next one of my top tips would be make it clear what can flex and what should not flex as well. So if we're doing Scrum, which we are, in the company I'm working for, yeah, there's things that can and can't flex. So obviously Scrum, lightweight framework, lots we can change and incorporate and make our own at team level. We can bring in different kind of frameworks. We can pull on things like Kanban, Lean. We can decide whether we want to estimate in story points, man days, or go for no estimates. There's all sorts we can play with inside that framework. But if we're doing Scrum, there's some things that actually we shouldn't play with, and they're things that shouldn't really flex. So I think it's really key to make your teams aware that, actually there's 5 events, 3 accountabilities, 3 artifacts, 3 commitments. And this slide kind of just demonstrates that. It's by the Liberate Instructors Guides, the Liberators. So there's things that just shouldn't really flex if we're doing Scrum. And if we do flex them and we do stop, with the 5 events and we've only got, we've got no product owner, or, we're sharing Scrum Masters and all that sort of thing, well, actually, we're not actually doing Scrum then, are we? So, yeah, I think it's important to make that clear. Really great framework, lots we can move around and change, but some things that if we're doing Scrum, we should actually keep. And they're there for really good reasons, aren't they? They've, been going kind of 20 years and proven to be, really, really valuable. So having said that though, I do recognise that there are companies out there that are very, very mature at Agile. Your Amazons, places like that, and they may not, need to use a framework. They may not have anything such as Scrum. They'll probably do their own thing. It's probably just, how we do things around here. Yeah, they don't need the crutch, as I like to call a framework, that helping hand. Okay. And if you're lucky enough to work in one of them organisations, then fantastic. I think they're quite few and far between, if I'm being honest. So doing Scrum by the book, yes, I've been accused of doing Scrum by the book. And do you know what? The organisations I work with, I think they do need it. And for me, it's a compliment. Yeah, I've been brought in as a Scrum Master. And yes, that's kind of what we're going to do. Like I said, still tons we can flex and change within that framework. One thing I will do though, if we are talking about very mature teams, if we start to bend frameworks and events and that kind of thing, because we're at that level now and it's just how we do things around here, I will still check in with the Scrum values, yeah? So I'll still check in to make sure that these values are still kind of at the forefront of what we do. So, an example would be, some managers kind of saying, I don't know, we need to bring some more work into your squad. We're going to give you an extra 4 people for your squad. I'm going to give you some extra work to do. New feature, new epic. Well, I'm like, we've already got kind of 10 people in the squad. So there's no hard and fast rule. Yeah, it gives us a bit of advice in the Scrum guide about, Scrum team should be generally less than 10. There's no hard and fast rule. But I look at the Scrum values and say, all right, so I let these 4, new devs come in, this extra piece of work. Focus is going out the window, isn't it? Things like commitment start to, become, almost impossible to achieve because we can't commit to that sprint goal. So we've got different things going on. We've got too many people. Focus is kind of, compromised a little bit. So I'll start to use the values then to make sure actually we're not sliding too far out of the framework or too far out of that, really good place to be. So I think most organisations are quite mature, so it's good to use a good framework. Scrum is fantastic. Some things you just shouldn't change, but there's loads of room to manoeuvre, but make that really clear on what can and can't flex. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And people may have heard of this acronym, so I've not made it up myself. It's been around a long time. But I do come back to it a lot, yeah. So it's not, I don't go around kissing my squad or anything like that. But yeah, we do like to keep it simple. So the Scrum Guide is an excellent example of KISS. So keep it really simple. So it's 13 pages long, that's it. And it's really succinct, easy to follow, very, very simple. And I think as Scrum Masters, we need to bring things back to this KISS rule as much as possible, really. So things that I'll use, when they're getting a little bit out of hand is events. So yeah, so KISS, keep them simple. Daily Scrum belongs to the dev team, really. So how do they want to get value out of it? But keep it simple, keep it in that time box. Talk about your sprint goals, yeah. Keep it focused. Don't kind of go off on tangents. Requirements, again, keep them simple. So, we're in this digital world now, aren't we? But when we're all back in the offices, if you go back to way back then, you know, it's requirements on post-it notes or index cards, and, you know, your user story, your product backlog item, it should fit on the front of an index card, and your acceptance criteria should fit on the back of an index card. So you're looking at, you know, 5-6 pieces of ACs or acceptance criteria really. And that's as simple as it should be, those conversation starters and those ACs. And I think now in the digital kind of world, it's very easy to start, you know, getting up to 10, 15 ACs and, you know, quite chunky user stories or PBIs. You don't have that physical, you know, post-it note or index card to stop you. So again, you know, come back to case, keep it simple. You know, how do we split that out? How do we keep these things simple? How can I just look at a post-it note or a user story in DevOps or Jira and understand it very quickly? And yeah, conversations. So, you know, things like the daily Scrum. Yeah, lots of times you'll get into those techie conversations, or the development team will, which is great. It's really, you know, it shows enthusiasm, doesn't it? And those tech conversations need to happen. But I guess it's the right place and the right time. So again, keep it simple. And one thing I like to do is just ask, okay, what's the business requirement here? Let's go back to the business requirement if we're really starting to get into some of the technical detail. And it might be that, you know, the techies need to go off and the development team need to go off and have a three amigos or an additional session. That's fine. But these are the kind of 3 areas I'll use this kind of KISS rule for and just bring people back on track. So simple, really simple, but really effective. That's something that I just pull back on really.